There's a particular kind of tension that hangs in offices where everyone pretends to get along. You know the kind, polite smiles, quiet keyboard clatter, the low hum of fluorescent lights, and conversations that always feel like they're being monitored. Even when they're not. I'm 36. I work in an office where every coworker is male, a culture that prides itself on banter, thick skin, and the unspoken rule that if you can't laugh along, you're the problem. Physically. I stand out. I'm about 185 centimeters. Tall, just over 6 feet, but only around 70 kilos. Lean, narrow shoulders. The kind of build that makes people assume you skip meals even when you don't. I've always been this way. High metabolism. My doctor has confirmed more than once that I'm perfectly healthy. Blood work is normal. Energy levels are good. No underlying issues. Still, people see skinny and they assume fragility, or worse, they think it's open season for commentary. The worst of it came from the big boss. Let's call him High. Septon. Not because he was religious, but because he carried himself like a man convinced of his own moral authority. Late 50s. Thick voice. The kind of presence that fills a room before he even speaks. He had a habit of turning observations into jokes. And once he noticed my build, I became material, morning sparrow. Careful, don't blow away. Did you eat today? It was always said with a smile, the kind that gives him plausible deniability. If anyone called him out, he could shrug and say, just teasing. At first, I brushed it off. I'd smile politely, return to my work. But over time, something subtle started happening. Each comment was small. But cumulative, like a drip of water hitting the same spot on stone. You start noticing how conversations pause when he walks by. How people glance at you after he says something, waiting to see how you'll react. Whether you'll laugh, whether you'll push back. And the truth is, I wasn't deeply hurt, but I was irritated. Not just for myself, but for what it signaled, because when a leader normalizes comments about someone's body, it sets the tone. It tells everyone else what's acceptable. And I kept thinking, what if someone else here isn't as comfortable? What if someone is struggling quietly? The thought stuck with me. Then came the morning that changed everything. It was an ordinary Tuesday. Coffee cooling beside my keyboard. Inbox already full. The office smelled faintly of burnt toast from the break room. High Septon wandered over, hands clasped behind his back, his usual patrol posture. He asked a routine question about a project. We discussed timelines, numbers. Normal stuff. Then, somehow, as always, the conversation drifted toward food. He leaned against my desk, smirk already forming. So, are you going to eat today, Sparrow? There it was, something inside me, calm, deliberate, decided this was the moment. I didn't sigh. Didn't roll my eyes. Instead, I said lightly, nah, I'm on a diet. Trying to lose some weight. Silence, not the polite kind, the heavy kind. His smile froze. What? I kept typing as if discussing the weather. Yeah, feeling a bit bloated lately. Figured I'd drop about 10 kilos. I could feel his stare, sharp, confused. But you can't do that, he said, voice suddenly tight. You're not really on a diet, are you? I shrugged. A small, non-committal movement. Then I went back to work. Out of the corner of my eye, I watched the shift happen. The confidence drained from his posture. His mouth opened slightly, as if searching for words or perhaps reconsidering everything he'd said before. After a few seconds, he muttered something indistinct and retreated. The rest of the day felt different. He avoided eye contact. Passed my desk without stopping. No jokes. No commentary. By afternoon, the atmosphere had a faint buzz, the kind that spreads when something unusual happens but no one talks about it directly. A colleague leaned over later and whispered, "What did you say to him?" I just smiled. Nothing. But internally I was reflecting. What I'd done was simple, yet powerful. By leaning into the absurdity of his narrative, I'd forced him to confront it. Suddenly, his harmless jokes carried a different implication. If I really were trying to lose dangerous weight, his comments would look cruel, reckless. He'd stepped into his own trap. The next day confirmed it. He didn't greet me. Didn't joke. Didn't mention food or my body at all. In fact, he seemed almost cautious around me. It was as if he'd realized, maybe for the first time, that words have consequences, and I'll admit, there was a quiet satisfaction in that shift. Not triumph in humiliating him, but relief. Relief that the constant background noise had stopped. Relief that the space felt neutral again. Over the following days, the change held. Meetings were professional. Conversations stayed on topic. And interestingly, others seemed more relaxed too. Like a subtle tension had lifted. I didn't escalate. Didn't gloat. I simply let the silence do the work, because sometimes the most effective way to stop behavior isn't confrontation, it's reflection. Holding up a mirror so someone sees themselves clearly, and if he ever decides to make another comment, I'm ready to call it out directly. But for now, the message landed. The real payoff wasn't a dramatic argument or public apology. It was watching a man who once felt comfortable making casual remarks suddenly become careful. Measured. Aware. That moment, when his confident smirk turned into uncertainty, was the turning point. You could practically see the realization dawn. Maybe those jokes weren't harmless after all. And from that day forward, the nickname vanished. No more Sparrow. No more commentary. Just professionalism. Sometimes revenge isn't about knocking someone down. It's about quietly resetting the balance. In the end, this wasn't about weight, it was about respect. Small shift in perspective can change behavior more effectively than any argument. And sometimes, the best way to teach a lesson is to let someone imagine the consequences themselves. If this story made you smile, or reminded you of someone who needed a reality check, hit like and drop a comment. What's the most subtle revenge you've ever seen? And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories where quiet moves create the loudest impact.